Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. This is Beth from BIDG coming to you live, really excited this evening to be here with everyone in the building. We have a special guest that is going to give us some of an update about what's been going on after the Prop 22 question legislatively. We have Raheem, or as I like to call him, Rah Rah, in the building tonight. We are expecting a few other guests. So, just stay tuned. We do have an agenda tonight. So, first on the agenda is BIDG in the community. Second item on our agenda is Shannon Liss-Riordan looking to connect with drivers based about things that's going on with the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. Third item on our agenda is status on 501c3 filing of the organization. I have some good news about that. Fourth item on the agenda, driver cooperative plans. And fifth item on the agenda, what my coveted guest came on here to talk about is gig worker legislation after Massachusetts Not for Sale. Where do we go from here? So I am very excited and happy to be here with everyone right now. And so the first thing I always like to go over is a little bit of our history about the purpose of BIDG. And what does BIDG stand for, you may ask? Well, if you don't know, now you know. It stands for Boston Independent Drivers Guild. And it was a group of drivers that came together that formed in 2018. And they realized they had a lot in common and they wanted to be treated with fairness. They wanted to be treated with respect. They were sick of being taken advantage by Uber and Lyft. They admitted there were great things about the company, how it gave them a way to have a flexible schedule in the beginning. The money was pretty decent. But then things started to change. And they realized if they came together, that together they were stronger. So that's the purpose of the Boston Independent Drivers Guild, to give people a voice, drivers a voice. And now, even more than ever, the statistics have shown us, because of inflation and people's paychecks not going as far, gig work has increased. And a lot of people have turned to Uber and Lyft driving. A lot of women are increased with gig work because they can't afford these ridiculously expensive childcare rates. So they're turning to the gig economy. They're doing Lyft, they're doing Uber, they're doing Instacart, they're Insta shoppers, they're doing the delivery jobs, and, some people, they're saying people didn't return back to work. No, people didn't like the way that they were being treated at work. That was the biggest issue. And so they decided to do something about it. Welcome Rhodes to the call as well, a fellow driver. And so we just want you to know that you all have a voice. And that's what it's about. We want you to know that you guys aren't alone out here. And so we want to get to the second item in our agenda, which is a Boston Independent Drivers Guild in the community. So if you don't realize this, our organization is very, very, very involved in the community. We showed up at the mosque around Massachusetts, introducing ourselves to the Muslim community. We showed up at community events. We were at, pride events. We were at leadership events. We did some trainings and workshops for our young people. Big shout out to Mashkosh. That's a nonprofit that focuses on the safety of workers in Massachusetts. And big shout out to Al Vega. we had the opportunity to go and do some workshops for the young people that he's mentoring in the Boston community. And also, we were supposed to get an update from, one guest. And just to goes to show, I've sued, Uber and Lyft was named in a lawsuit. I did not want my name to remain anonymous because one thing, I don't like bullies and I'm not a coward. We have another member that he's probably really drained today. He had a day-long deposition. These are the types of tactics that sometimes these companies use. Uber and Lyft, he was in a deposition all day with them. And, our organization is...
Hey, yo, I'm driving? No, I don't. Sorry about that.
Our organization is not afraid to... our organization is not afraid. We got our skin in the game. We're not afraid to fight for you. We're not afraid to speak up. And sometimes that costs us a little bit. I was deactivated temporarily, but thank God it was temporarily deactivated by Uber over some BS because, I was one of the people that's fighting on behalf of the drivers. And that wasn't fun at all, but I fought it. I didn't let the deactivation stop me. It actually made me more impassioned, and it made me more, it drove my purpose, because there are some drivers out here that don't know how to fight back. Maybe they, English is a second language. They feel uncomfortable speaking English. There might not be a representative that knows how to communicate with them in their language. And so I'm here and I'm ready and I'm willing and I'm able to fight for the people, for the voiceless. We all are here for the people that are kind of scared to speak up, or for the people that just don't know what their rights are in this state. You may not think you have rights, but you do. And so that's just a lot of things that Boston Independent Drivers Guild does. We are, we're in the community. We're here and we're loud. We're proud. I don't know if any of you guys ran into us. We were at the airport. I don't know if any of you saw us. We went to Chick-fil-A. We were at Chick-fil-A. We were going Legacy Place, Popeyes. We were in the hood just trying to connect with the drivers, talk to you, learn how, what you like about gig work, what you don't like about it, what you think could be improved about it. And so I don't know if Rhodes, if you could speak about a little bit, about your experience in how you have a leadership position in a community, and especially in the Haitian community. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Are you able to talk for a couple minutes? If you could unmute yourself, Rhodes.
I'd love to talk. Give me a couple of minutes, please.
Okay, so we will come back to Rhodes. So let's move on to our next topic, which is Attorney Shannon Liss-Riordan is looking to connect with Uber, Lyft drivers, other gig workers about pending actions going on with the Attorney General's office. And we have who I love to call, when it comes to attorneys and actions and dealing with Uber and Lyft, we have our own in-house expert that has had many interactions with them. So we give you the one, the only Steve Levine. Would you like to talk about, some of your interactions with Uber and Lyft and with Shannon and how she's been able to help you out?
So far, she's helped me out with DoorDash. Well, actually, not DoorDash. I mean, Instacart so far. And we're working on Grubhub. And we just started working on more in-depth of my Uber case, too, as well. So it's going pretty good. And can't really talk about my case, but yeah, it's going pretty good.
And what is your experience with Shannon? I know I've
Oh, she's
interacted with
awesome.
her.
Yeah, she's great. She's doing exactly everything I ask her to do and more. I'm very thankful for her.
Yeah, so I mean, she's a true professional. I've interacted with her. She's great. She has years of history suing Uber and Lyft and all these other, all these gig companies that think it's okay to mistreat their workers and exploit their workers. And I really, I really, we're encouraging we're encouraging drivers to interact with her, reach out to her. I know a lot of drivers are angry and annoyed because of this upfront pricing. And some people like it because you can see the trip destination, but there's other things that people don't like. There's no more long pickup fees or any of that nonsense. There, surge is included with the upfront pricing. And if you had to wait a longer time for your client, you're not getting that extra money. If you drove extra distance for that client, you're not getting that. And it also allowed them to cut rates as the Cape, which, as we do have a driver here that's familiar with that area. I've been, driving in that area before. And that kind of was a hidden jewel for a lot of us rideshare drivers because the rates on the Cape were actually more, almost twice as much as the rates driving in Boston. And it was for longer trips. So now the passengers are getting real pissed off because I heard someone said in a driver group for Boston, they had to wait an hour. They tried to order an Uber, it took them an hour, then they finally switched over to Lyft. But as we know with Uber and Lyft, monkey see, monkey do. So when Uber does something, usually Lyft follows. And so it's probably only going to be a matter of time before Lyft switches to upfront pricing as well. And so if you're angry about that because we're supposed to be getting paid per mile, per minute, and things like that, please feel free, to reach out to her and just let her know how you feel. If you've been deactivated by Uber or Lyft or taken advantage of by Uber or Lyft and having some ongoing issues with Uber or Lyft, please reach out to our office and let them know that Boston Independent Drivers Guild sent you. And so what I will do is I will actually, if you could just bear with me, I am going to, post their email address in the chat. So if you do have a bone to pick with them, and I'm sure all of us do, a lot of y'all are not loving Uber right now, especially from these comments I see in this drivers group. I know a lot of y'all aren't loving Uber right now. I'm going to post the link to reach out to her office right in the chat. And actually, it's really easy. uberlawsuit.com. All together. No underscores or anything like that. So it shows up on Facebook. It showed up on our YouTube channel. And so please reach out to her, connect with her if you can. You'll thank me later. I promise you all, you will not regret it. And so next, we are going to go on to our next topic, which is our organization has filed for nonprofit status. We filed as a 501c3 organization. And we made it through the first process. And now we're under a second stage, which is called the review stage. And I'm not sure how many of y'all tried to get in touch with the IRS during the pandemic, but I know it took me months to get in touch with them. It will automatically hang up and dial up. It only took a few hours. I had talked to 3 different people in the IRS to get the information that I needed, but the fortune is in the follow-up. And we have a lot of work to do in our community. There's over 300,000 registered gig workers that our mission is to help. And our goal within a year, especially after getting our 501c3 status, is to be able to connect with 10% or 5 to 10%, 15 to 30,000 gig workers. And the goal of Boston Independent Drivers Guild forming as a 501c3 nonprofit is we want to educate the public. We want to educate the drivers about gig work. We want, that you do have certain rights, even though you may feel that you don't, but you do have rights. We're also registering as a charitable institution, organization. And we have been gifted through a program, we have been gifted gas cards for our drivers. And we're still waiting on getting those in. But as soon as we do get those gas cards in, we will be raffling them off to our hardworking drivers. Gas isn't as expensive as it was a few months ago, but it's not at $3 a gallon like it was before. So we do realize that gas is a big expense. We're also soon going to be offering other programs like training programs, offering help with filling out applications for certain services, if you want to get and open your own business, having workshops and classes like that. That is one of our missions, to improve the lives of gig workers, rideshare drivers, delivery drivers, shipped shoppers, Insta shoppers, and to improve the lives of your families as well. And BIDG, sometimes we like to consider ourselves fun, crazy, cool, but dysfunctional. And most of all, loving family. We love our drivers. We want our drivers, we want to see, drivers make as much money as they can, not be taken advantage of, not being exploited. And the last designation we applied for under 501c3 is scientific research, because we want to study gig workers, what Uber and Lyft are saying you're making. I've seen, our organization helped gig workers get over $2 million in PPP funding, EIDL funding, and MGCC funding during a pandemic. And at that time, you had to submit your tax returns. You had to send in your tax returns to me. And some of these drivers, oh my goodness, they're making 6 figures. But after you're paying your expenses and your mileage and your insurance, some drivers were in the red. Some drivers, I know me personally, it looked like I made money, but after I took out all my expenses, I only made 1/3 of what Uber and Lyft said I made working. And so we want to study the difference in what these companies say we're making, but what we're actually taking home after we pay our own bills. And so that was one of the reasons too why, we registered as a 501c3. And though something else, I'm going to pass it on to my brother from another mother. I call him Rah, to talk about our next topic, which is going to be driver cooperative. So if you don't know now you know. So, there has been a buzz going around about a driver cooperative coming to the Massachusetts area. I'll give you a little background before I hand the mic over to Raheem. But I will give you this information. So there's a cooperative that was started in New York City. And if you rideshare drivers, Uber, Lyft drivers aren't familiar, in New York, they have to pay them a minimum amount per hour after their expenses. And it's almost, I believe, $28 an hour after they pay all of their expenses. They started this cooperative in New York City. And even with the minimum payment amounts that they have to pay drivers, the floor, cooperative drivers make 8% more, not less, more than that minimum amount that the New York City Council said that they have to pay. So that is a really great thing. And this cooperative, there's other states, Colorado, Florida, North Carolina. You know, we're reaching out to our brothers and sisters in Connecticut, because as you can see, Uber and Lyft are a $1 billion company, but they're greedy. We all know they're greedy. We all know they could afford to pay us some money and still be profitable. So wouldn't it be a great idea if the workers were able to share in those profits? Instead of Uber and Lyft taking all the money, the workers can have something, own something. And, we're not looking for everyone. Maybe everyone's not interested in that, but it sounds good to me. And so I am going to pass the mic over to Raheem. He was at the meeting, he was asked to be there, introduced to the key players. And so, Raheem, could you just talk a little bit more about this?
Hi, everybody. I know most of you guys. My name is Raheem Abbasi. I was an organizer working with, back in the day, taxi drivers, of which I am, and now rideshare, delivery, gig workers, all that kind of stuff. I work with Beth on the Mass Not for Sale campaign. Our backgrounds are different, but surprisingly similar, and she and I have been working very, very closely at that time for the campaign, and now together on these divergent projects. So to give you a little update, right now, Mass Not for Sale still exists. BIDG is still a part of it, I believe, but they laid off their organizing staff. So they're going to pursue some kind of legislative campaign. I'm not really sure what their strategy is to do without any drivers or organizers regarding gig work. So as we get more information, as it trickles in, you all will be informed of that. So second, we are pursuing alternatives for the current gig economy. One of the big things, like Beth said, is a co-op. Now, co-ops are not a new idea, and they're not perfect either. But I think with regard to this economy, in regard to the work we do, we're doing 99.999% of the work for less than 50%, sometimes only 25% of the pay, right? Everybody's taking a fare where the customer paid $100 and you got 40 for it, right? It's not fair. It's never going to be fair. One way to do that, to get some kind of recognition and equal pay and better protections and rights, is through a union. But I think without special legislation, like we mentioned earlier, we're not going to be able to do that. But BIDG keeps, we're going to keep moving forward to organize and advocate for drivers. So going back to the co-op, now what it does is it makes the people who work there or work for it part owners. So one of the things we'd like to do is one of the biggest expenses we have is our vehicles and the apps. So if we own the app and we own all our vehicles, that says a lot about income security and the way that the money is distributed. You're not going to see, ideally in a couple of years, the app is running, it's got a good fair amount of market share, it's plenty of drivers, plenty of customers, and everybody's kind of pulling business resources, and we'd be able to negotiate lower repair rates and buy our own insurance policies, have our own garage, maybe even have our own fleet, like a non-owner operated fleet that drivers can come in and they can work and they can get paid fair wage for fair work. But there's a few obstacles to that, like Beth said. So we're working on that diligently. We don't have a lot of details right now, but we are taking advice and learning and listening and building relationships with people who've done this successfully, like in New York. So we're trying to replicate a similar model, and we all know that. And Beth, you can cut me off if I'm droning on. But
Well, I just want to interject really quickly. So, what we're focusing on now, we're looking for 50 to 100 drivers that would be interested in learning if the cooperative model is something that fits into their lifestyle. We know that it might not be for everyone, but we're not looking for everyone. And so, if you're interested in attending an information session, it's not run by BIDG, it's run by experts, cooperative experts. These are experts that have started numerous cooperatives in the United States and were specifically brought in by the New York Cooperative to see if there's interest in starting a cooperative here in Massachusetts where you can make 8% more, probably more, because they keep on slashing the rates here. We know New York is just as expensive. Well, actually, it seems like Boston's more expensive. And so we have it here we put it's on our YouTube channel, on the comments, in our Facebook channel that we're streaming live from, in the comments. So if you're interested and other rideshare drivers, other Uber, Lyft drivers that are interested in learning more about what a cooperative is and to see if it's something that would fit into what they're looking for, they're sick of being taken advantage of by Uber and Lyft and they want to look at something different where, you keep more of the pie, you get paid to how much you work. As we know, sometimes you could work 10 hours, 8 hours, 4 hours and only make $50, and that's before your expenses. And this model is not like that. So if you're interested in learning more about attending just an information session to learn about what a driver cooperative, and this has been successful, nothing is guaranteed. However, this is a business model that has been proven successful in New York City, and they are expanding it to other states, to other cities all across the United States. And so if you're interested, like I said, I put the JOT form in there. There's a QR code on the JOT form if you're really one of those tech savvy type of people, or if you're old school, you could just type it in a computer, type it in your phone, type it in your tablet, and share it with lottie-dottie everybody, your friends, to tell a friend, to just spread the knowledge out. And I'm just going to give it back to Raheem.
All right, yeah. So we're very like Beth said, we're still at the planning stages. I think a research study is something really important, and we're trying to raise funds for that. So we'll give updates on that later when things are more rolling. We need drivers to be interested so we can start putting stuff together, so we can have so it's like any other organization, really. It's going to have a few core anchor members who are doing the work, who are like the administrative work, who are doing the meetings, the fundraising, the contacting, things like that, and the development, and then other auxiliary members who are just working, contributing, whether it's like dues or fees, obviously small money, and just doing the work and testing the product and seeing how things go. Because we're all drivers, we're all workers here. We know how things are. We know how bad these apps are. We know that Uber has a really good app, but they keep updating and adding new stuff. Some of it seems helpful, but whenever these companies add anything, is it really for us? No, it's for them to steal more money out of your pocket. So that's kind of a baseline. Did I miss anything, Beth? You're muted.
Thanks, Raheem. Great catch. So a couple of things to note. So they do have a viable app. There is a lot of funding available from the federal government. There's a lot of fundraising resources available, and all the things that you said, which could be seen as impediments, we have the system in place. Also fundraising. So I am also a owner, operator, a worker owner of a cooperative, but it's in green infrastructure. And so I volunteered at something called the Dorchester Food Cooperative. Y'all can Google it if you want to, Dorchester Food Cooperative. And the great thing about this is if some of you guys don't live in rural areas or in some urban areas inside the city of Boston, there are what you call food deserts. And Dorchester is one of those places that's considered a food desert. I think they have what, South Bay, maybe? The Stop and Shop over there. There's not that many grocery stores. Whereas I live in Dedham and I could walk to a Whole Foods. My Whole Foods is like 7-minute walk. I just have to walk over there and I have a grocery store at my fingertips. And so the Dorchester Food Cooperative was able to raise over $3 million. And so that's a big deal. And that's that's our vision for this drivers cooperative. We know there's some places in Dorchester, Mattapan, Hyde Park that are transportation deserts. We know there are times when our seniors can't get rides to and from their appointments. It's happened where I have seniors that I call family that I love have called me and I've had to either order a ride for them or come pick them up myself. Get a taxi. One time I had to order a livery car for my own mom before. And my mother's a senior. And so this has happened to me as well. And it affects my family. Or in rural areas, there are transit deserts too, where sometimes people can't get to jobs because they don't have a car and they can't afford a taxi or a livery vehicle or an Uber or Lyft. So that's our vision, to have green, use green energy, hybrids, electric cars, and be able to provide transportation to people, affordable transportation to people that don't have access to it as well. And so those were just some of the other things that we're talking about. So like I said, if that's something, if you like potentially helping people out in the community, if you want to be an owner, a business owner, an owner operator, investor, like I said, that JOT form is in the chat. Please feel free to fill it out. And, you might as well, are you going to watch, sit around and watch things happen? Or are you going to make things happen? Or are you going to be one of those people that are watching things happen and complain about what you want and what you could have? I know I'm watching, but I'm also making things happen. And so I just want to say, spread the word, come to an information session. It is going to be virtual and we would love to have you. Anything else you'd like to add, Raheem?
No, that's it. That's a really great start so far. Yeah, this is going to be like a big deal. So it's going to be one of the first in the big city. Just one thing I want to add in, like New York City, it's the world capital of for hire transportation, for hire vehicles, right? The famous yellow cab, the Uber and Lyft. And just to add that New York City was the only jurisdiction in the world where Uber had to follow the rules. So if this little co-op could jump through all those hoops with the TLC in New York, then we can really get it done here. I don't think that, for one, the DPU that regulates this industry, the TNC industry, it's new. They don't know what they're doing. So we'll get whatever approvals we have to deal with, we'll get through really quickly. And two, Boston is always a good test market. It's a high-income city. The people who use these services are they're tech savvy, they're wallet savvy. They don't want to spend all their money. So if we can offer a lower price or a competitive price for the same service, essentially, and we can work with different partners as well. It's not just going to be a couple of guys in a Prius. We're gonna redefine the transportation, the for-hire transportation industry across this country. So getting it on the ground is really important. I definitely consider that this is going to really revolutionize, in many ways, the way we do business here regarding the ride sharing, TNC, taxis, Uber, Lyft, delivery, and even delivery companies soon. Maybe in 5 years we'll have our own delivery app that's owner operated. You don't know, but all right, that's it for me. That's what I had to say. If y'all have questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Raheem, for that information. So the last item on our agenda for tonight is gig worker legislation. And so we got the ballot thrown out, the Supreme Court threw it out. We won the battle, but there is war a brewing. And so the next step, do you want to talk about this too, Raheem? Would you like to update us with this too?
Well, what in particular do you want to talk about?
Well, just what's the next step legislatively? They're looking.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, there's a new session. So the legislative session ended. Just to give you a little background on dirty Beacon Hill politics. The last session ended end of July, I believe, or recently, last few weeks. And as you know, all the seats are up for election. Everybody went home to their districts to campaign and to do end of the year stuff. So the primaries are next month. People should be out voting. You should know. Maybe something we can work on for next year or the next session after is we can do like a questionnaire for candidates, how they stand on issues regarding this. Kind of like similar to the way labor union will score people too. Anyway, just put a pin in that. So they'll all be a new session will come in January when the new legislature is seated. And what's going to happen is there's already an act. Well, it's dead now, H1234, right? But they're going to come back with another bill like that, probably stronger. And in 2024, they're going to come back probably with another ballot initiative if they can't get a bill passed to take away workers' rights. So right now, like I said, the AFL-CIO and Mass Not for Sale, what's left of it, are working on that. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what it's going to be. Hopefully, at the minimum, I'd like to be in the room just to say, hey, what is this? What is that? I am open to working with other driver organizations that are not paid directly and indirectly by these companies. So nobody who has a conflict of interest. Obviously, I don't want to say names. But that's what it's going to look. It's going to be open. I think we should be talking to and meeting with legislators where appropriate. I think a lot of new candidates are going to come in who are friendly faces, who we know personally, who have helped on their campaigns. We're going to get a new governor, a new governor, a new attorney general. Ideally, obviously, this is my personal choice, but Shannon Liss-Riordan wins, and we'll have a really good AG who's going to protect workers' rights. A lot of stuff going on. So the legislative campaign, we'll see what happens. Obviously we're there to, if there's a good bill that's being proposed, we'll support it. We'll work to help it out, to try to get it passed, and the membership hopefully will too. But we don't want to end up like Washington, where the Teamsters organized lobbied for a bill and then at the end asked the governor not to sign it. We don't want to end up, I think it's Connecticut, where somebody got a contract to represent drivers and they don't get what's due to them. We want to have good protections in place. We want to have appropriate compensation. We want to, if you get deactivated, to have a daily stipend, because most of us work 7 days a week, so daily, not weekly. And some kind of protection and retirement plan and all that stuff. So obviously it's open right now. Everything is open on this. So, but I'm not going to negotiate with a company that is, one, negotiating in bad faith, and two, is continuing to screw over its workers. So that's my piece on that. And if you want to add anything, Beth, by all means.
Well, one piece I'd like to add to that is we demand. We're not asking, we're not begging, we are demanding that any legislation for Uber, Lyft gig workers have gig workers involved. I am sick of people that do not live our stories, that do not live our lives, that don't know rideshare and gig work, and excuse my French, don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to this type of work and what we deal with, what we go through, getting carjacked, getting raped, getting assaulted. We see the videos every day. I'll be damned. No, we need driver participation in any type of legislation that is written. Drivers have to be at the forefront. And I just want to put a disclaimer in here. We have applied for the 501c3 status. Once we get it, I have the form filled out, but can't send it into Uncle Sam until we get the designation. But we will be doing some political work as a 501c3. We can only use up to 10% of funding for anything legislative. And we do not endorse any candidate. We can't as a 501c3. So we have to follow the rules, but we know right is right and wrong is wrong. I'm really excited about this legislative session. I'm excited about these elections. I can't wait to see the results, to see who we're going to have to call. Who are we calling? Whose office are we calling? I mean, we could already call the people that, there's no incumbents, their seats are safe, and let them know how we feel. But they're on a little 5-month vacation. Our legislators are on a 5-month vacation, and they won't be back in session until, next year. They need a break. And so does anyone have any thoughts about the next steps for the gig worker legislation? Don't everybody raise their hand. Maybe Rhodes or Dave. I haven't heard from either of y'all there. Rhodes, Dave. Rhodes, Dave. Let's see. Do Rhodes. Nobody wants to say nothing, Rhodes? Well, I guess not. I guess the cat has their tongue. Oh, we got Steve. Steve, you want to say something about this legislative stuff?
I didn't get to hear any of it because I lost signal. I'm working at the airport. I got like 0 signal here almost.
Okay, so they're on a legislative track to legislate the gig companies like Uber and Lyft, and we're demanding that any legislation has full driver input in it. And what do you feel about that? You want to say something? See, I knew Steve had something to say.
Thumbs up, big thumbs up, because that's exactly what we need.
Yes,
we need a voice, and it's bad enough we don't have a voice. We need it. We need it bad.
Okay, so on a positive note, I like ending things with a thumbs up. Y'all have the goings ons. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to post our website. It's really simple, BIDG.org. We have a monthly newsletter, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, show your support for us. Anytime you have an issue, we do have an intake form. If you have an issue, please reach out to us. If you have any questions or concerns, we are here for you. I will tell you this, it's been really busy. We are backed up. So please do give us a few days to get back to any inquiries. Give us a few business days, because, we are all volunteer army right here. And so thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And any way we can help you, please don't hesitate to call us. It also has our phone number. So reach out to us, call us. You can text us. You can also text us messages. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And the replay will be available soon. We will be rebroadcasting this on all of our social media channels because we know drivers have crazy schedules. As you can see, we got a couple of hardworking drivers here. Look like I think 3 of y'all are working right now. I know that, so I gotta give the big shots out to Steve and Dave and Rhodey over there because I know they're working hard. Okay, and so I'm ending the broadcast. Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everyone. Be safe.